I wanted to explain to you guys in this video, how do we even plan our travel? How do we find campsites? How do we know if it's a good campsite? How do we know if it's a good campground? Well, we're going to explain how we do what we do to plan our trips in this video.
Hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell, and give us a thumbs up. It really helps us out.
Okay, guys, this is how we plan our trips. Number one, we love RV Trip Wizard. We're not affiliated with them. We get no kickbacks. We just learned about them years ago, and we really, really enjoy using them. Me more so than Mike. I do more of the planning than he does. He's a much better driver. I'm a much better navigator. Anyway, so let me walk you through what we do with RV Trip Wizard. First off, we have our starting point. Where are we starting from? We're starting from Florida. We're starting from Maryland. We're starting from North Carolina, wherever we're currently at and wherever we're going to go to. So with RV Trip Wizard, you can put in all kinds of filters. You just want state parks. You want just private campgrounds. You want state parks, private campgrounds, state forest, national parks. There's so many different filters you can put in there. You want to put in, is it big rig friendly? Do they have sewer? Do they have 50 amp, 30 amp? What kind of electric do they have? You get to choose all of these options with RV Trip Wizard. And that's one of the things I love about it so much. You also get to customize how far do you want to drive every day. We try not to drive any more than a total of 5 to 6 hours. That's really the max that we like to drive in a day. A, we have the cats and the dog, and B, you know, it's pretty exhausting after a full day on the road. We begin with our starting point and we look at our radius from where we're going to be starting. And from there we go out and we look at, okay, how far out do we want to go? And from there we say, okay, what kind of campground are we looking for? We're looking for a state park. We're looking for an Army Corps of Engineers. We're looking for whatever. They also do rate them with a number of stars. It goes up to 10 stars. We try to go with nothing less than a 7 or 7.5. We've been to ones that are below that, and we've been to ones really that were above that just didn't fit our needs. But we know for sure the ones that are below 7 and 7.5, typically they don't give us what we're looking for. We prefer a much bigger site. Like if we can get some space in between the site next to us and us, we have Lily. She likes a nice little grassy area. And we've been to campgrounds where your slide out's basically at somebody else's front door. We just don't like to camp like that. We can do it if we have to for a night, not a big deal, but that's just not our preference. So I put in all the filters for what we're looking for, and then I look at our radius and I see how far we want to go, what our options are. Then from there we'll choose 2, 3, 4 different campgrounds, and then we'll look at all the reviews on RV Trip Wizard, and we'll look at the most recent reviews. We like to look at the pictures that come with RV Trip Wizard. All of that is super helpful. When we narrow it down to 2 different campgrounds we want to stay at, from there we go to YouTube and we look to see, has anybody done a campground review for that specific campground? If they have, great. We try to go through and say, okay, we'd like site 13 and 14. Those both look great. Has somebody done a campground review where we can really get to see what do those campsites look like? So from there, then we'll make our final decision. And that's how we go from stop to stop to stop. We also try to see, is it a different part of the country we haven't been to before? Next year, we're hitting like 19 different states because it's such an epic trip. And we're intentionally trying to hit those states we haven't been to yet. For us, in order to put our sticker on our map that we have outside, we have to spend the night in that state. Could be a Cracker Barrel, could be a Walmart, could be a Harvest Host, could be any of that. If we do have a one-night stop, a lot of times we will go to Harvest Host. We are Harvest Host members, and we love Harvest Hosts. Last year we stayed, if you guys saw one of our New Mexico ones, we stayed at Windrush Alpacas, and we loved it. What are Harvest Hosts? They're basically a boondocking situation. Most of the time they are at farms or breweries or wineries. Could be a museum, could be a church. Also, with your Harvest Host, you get your membership to Boondockers Welcome. That is a private residence or a private area, and they usually do not have hookups. Sometimes they do, and for a fee, you can pay to have hookups. Could be water, could be sewer, could be electric, could be any combination of that. You get to also play with filters on Harvest Host too. How long is your rig? Where are you looking to stay? Do they allow generators? Do they allow pets? Do they allow slide outs? Do they allow you to book extra nights? When we leave my stepson's house, or when we leave his area in November, we were going to stay at a state park. Well, we just got an email a few weeks ago that says, hey, this state park is going to be closed for repairs. We're so sorry, but we're going to have to cancel your reservation. Okay, no problem. I went on to Harvest Host and I found a really cool farm that we're going to request 2-night stay at. So we know we needed 2 nights. I checked the box that said allow extra nights. And there you go. Sometimes they charge you, sometimes they don't. But really, when they charge you, it's like $20. It's really usually very, very affordable. So we really love Harvest Hosts also. Sometimes we have specific places that we really, really want to see. It's a non-negotiable, right? So maybe we're going to like a national park that we really want to stay at. So that becomes our anchor. Just so you guys know, when you are planning to go to some of the very popular national parks, you may have to book a campsite a year in advance or more. We have found that somewhere between 10 to 12 months ahead of time is usually the sweet spot. You can still probably find what you're looking for. Sometimes you can't. We've come up against a couple near the Grand Canyon where we just can't. We want to stay in the Grand Canyon, and that campground just simply has no availability for when we know we're going to be there. So it's very important that you look to see those anchors. That's what we call them. Those are your anchors. They're the non-negotiables, the things that are just set in your schedule. And then we kind of play around with things around that. Where do we want to go before? Where do we want to go after? The other thing you can do when you have those anchors with RV Trip Wizard is you can lock those dates in, and it won't allow you to overbook before you get to that stay. It knows exactly how many nights you have in between each stop before you get to your anchor, which is a super, super helpful thing because you don't want to forget and say, oh, I thought my reservation was on the 1st when really it started on the 31st. You don't want to miss seeing that area that you had planned to go to. Some campgrounds only open the end of the year before for the next year's reservations. Some only do 90 days out. Some do 6 months. Like reservation.gov for your Army Corps of Engineers, for your state parks, your national parks. You can only book those out 6 months in advance. So if I know that something's not available and I know when that window is going to open, I put a reminder in my Outlook calendar so that I can make sure that I am on my computer that morning as early as possible to book those spots that we need to get for our trip. So for us, this is what works. For a lot of you guys, flying by the seat of your pants is totally fine, and I get it. We also have used things like RV Parky, Campendium, All Stays. We just prefer RV Life because I also have an app on my phone that tells me where we're going, and it also has GPS. We run 2 GPSs the days that we travel. We have our Garmin. I also run the RV Trip Wizard GPS alongside. Sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're not. We default to the Garmin because we know that that has all of our dimensions in it and it knows the roads. We've just found it to be a little bit more reliable. It's only let us down like once or twice. But for the most part, that works. The other thing too is if you're planning to go with a group, it's really good for you guys to get together. We have been on the phone with friends like, okay, here's where we're going. Let's take a look at these 3 campgrounds together. And it's nice to have the other people's input because they see things from a different perspective that you just don't see. So we appreciate working as a team with friends when we're traveling with them. I also appreciate, I might be looking at one campground in one aspect, then I bring Mike into it to look at it, and he's like, you know what? I don't think we're going to fit because, or we will be able to fit because we'll be able to put the rear of the camper, it will overhang this particular area and we should be fine. Or he'll say, I don't like where that sewer hookup is at, because that's his job when we get there. Mine is just to make sure the inside is all set up and ready to go. So the other things we do is we are looking at the destination, not necessarily the route. RV Trip Wizard is going to give you the most direct route, but we might want to pop up and see a different area. The nice thing is they have a feature, it's called drag route, and you can turn it on or off. So if you don't want to follow this route, you can drag the route to a different way. Like maybe you don't want to go around Chicago. So maybe you want to drag that route down so that you would go around the southwestern side of Chicago and go through a totally different area of Illinois. You have the ability to be flexible like that with RV Trip Wizard, which is something I really do appreciate. I'm sure there's a ton of you guys that plan like this, and I'm sure there's a ton of you guys that don't plan like this. I want to know, how do you plan your trips? What do you use to plan your trips? Do you use RV Trip Wizard? Do you use RV Parky? Do you use something totally different that I'm not even aware of? I'd love to hear what you have to say because I love to learn new stuff. So let us know, drop a comment below and let us know exactly what do you use to plan your big trips in your RV. I hope this has helped you guys out. I hope you learned something new, and we really appreciate you guys watching. Now let's do that part. Has somebody done?
And to let you guys that, hold on.
Most of the times they're usually at farms, brewery, and you don't want to miss. You know, not you don't want. We run it.